Hi guys, Spartan765. I got asked in one of my locksmithing videos here to do a more detailed video on how to rekey a lock. You probably won't be able to see my face much in this video. That's because I'm more focusing the camera more so at the actual lock itself here. I'm going to show you the takedown of a basic cylinder lock. This particular lock I am rekeying so I can use it on my gun room. And I've already taken the old pins and springs out of it and taking it down so it'd be just quick to disassemble for the video. But I'm going to go over how to take it apart. Now the first thing you're going to want to do when you take this apart, if you have there's two ways to take it apart. It's usually a little easier if you got the key. Okay, the key that it works in it, but you can take it apart without the key. First thing on this particular lock is a snap ring. I already pried it open. You're usually going to have to put it in a vise and just kind of pop it off. Like this here. Take your snap ring off. This is your connecting bar. Take that off. Then if you got the key, you could stick the key in and just twist the key and then pull the plug right out, but if you don't have the key, there's a panel in the top here where the driving pins and springs are. You do is I already pried it off. Usually on locks that weren't intended to ever be rekeyed after the manufacturer, there's little tabs you got to put in the vise and smash them back with a hammer. I already did that. Pry your little pin off, or your plate off, retainer plate. Being careful not to let the springs just fly everywhere. Hold your finger over it. And slowly release it and then just dump them out on the table. Those springs and pins that I pre-selected for the new key job are right there. Okay, and just pop your cylinder out. It's a cylinder or plug. The proper technical name for it is lock plug. And just take it, dump your old pins out, your lock key pins. Then after you got your plug out, take your key. You want to rekey it. Like for instance here, I'm trying to get all the locks I can key to this one key, so I don't have so many goddamn keys in my keychain here, as you can see. Eliminating about 6 keys just by keying everything to this one key here. You stick the key in the lock, and I already pre-selected the pins. As you can see, the pins and springs that were going to be used in this video, so I'm not going to go through the process of picking out of a pile of random pins here. What you want to do is just take pins, and you got to make sure there's pins. There's two types of pins. There's driving pins and there's key pins. Key pins are the ones you want to actually put in the plug. They're the ones that are tapered on the end, that look kind of like a cone in the end. You do not want to put ones that are just flat on the end in the key hole, because a key will probably get stuck in there going real hard. It's just not going to work right. And you do not want to put these the key pins, these are the ones you put in the cylinder, you do not want to put them in upside down. You want the cone part to be facing down towards the key. If you do it up like this, the key is going to go in hard, and not to mention it's going to be disgustingly easy to pick. So just drop the pin in, your key pin, and you can see here, so it kind of lines up. And again, I got these pre-selected, so you just I pre-selected them earlier. Just drop these pins in here. For instance, here I'll intentionally screw up to show you when they won't work. Here's a pin that's supposed to go in this hole here, but we'll put it in this hole. See how it sticks up a little bit? That pin will not work. They have to be flush with the top of the plug or close to flush. I'm talking, when I say tolerances here, within 1/4 of a millimeter are your tolerances. Roughly about 1/4 of a millimeter is the play that you're allowed to have with these pins here. Put your other pins in order for the lock to work smoothly. And you want to make sure, though, that you are putting the pins in with the cone facing down. If you put them in the other way, it doesn't do a bit of good. And you got the pins in there like that. Then what you're going to do is, if you got a wiser style lock that does not have the plate on the top, you literally are going to have to turn it upside down, put it in the vise, and take a tweezers. First you're going to drop in your springs in each hole, and then you're going to take your driving pins and drop them in. It's a little more of a process, but this lock here happens to have a plate in the top, like I said earlier, so I'm going to set my plug aside, my key plug aside. Oh, no, none of the pins fell out. So now what I'm going to want to do is take these here are the driving pins, the ones that are squared in the end. Now, you got to actually you can't just throw any old driving pin in here. I'm going to pull the key out. Now, one way to size up your driving pins is take your driving pins and drop them in the plug here. Now, the general rule of thumb, my rule of thumb, is you want the driving pins to stick up about 2 millimeters from the top of the cylinder once they're dropped in there. And these driving pins are sitting on top of the key pins. Now, if these driving pins are any less than 2 millimeters, any less than 2 millimeters down, and they're like let's say a millimeter or half a millimeter, there's a possibility that just with some decent force they could just force the lock. You know, you want a good 2 millimeters of play. Now you got to just play around with the different driving pins. The driving pins are a lot easier to pick than the key pins, you know, because you just take them in there, drop them in there, and make sure they all, you know, you got a good 2 millimeters. There you go.
A shark's teeth. There are lots of things you probably
drop them
rather
in
do
there
than talk to your kids about drugs. But once you learn what to say, it gets a lot less painful.
I don't know, antiquing with my mother-in-law?
I'd have somebody tase.
There you go. See, that's about right. And if some of them are varying heights, you don't want them really to exceed 3.5, 3 millimeters sticking up, because then you're going to start to put a little bit of harder pressure in the springs, you know. Just leave them about, you know, maximum 3 millimeters, minimum about 1.82 millimeters up. And you take your pins out here, your driving pins, because you can't put it in the cylinder the driving pins in. Then keep in mind the key pins are still in here, as you can see. When I put the key in, some of the key pins are popping up, and they're flush with the plug. Then take your cylinder right here. This is the actual cylinder right here. Some people mix up the plug with the cylinder, but this is the plug. This is the cylinder. Stick the plug in the cylinder. Then what you're going to want to do next is start. Oh shit, what was the order I had to put the keys in here? Let me see. That's there. Okay, there we go. I couldn't remember the order of the key. I had the pin or the driving pins. You can leave your key in or take it out, no matter. Don't tip the lock over, because the pins, there's a possibility the pins could come out. Then just simply drop your driving pins in the top. Got them dropping in there like that. God, those fucking commercials are annoying, aren't they? You know, those type of commercials there, they almost make people not want to go buy shit with that stupid, annoying guy voice. Drop them in there like that. Okay? Now just jiggle it around a little bit. You'll notice here, once some driving pins are in, I cannot push the cylinder out. The next step you're going to want to do here is drop in your springs. And when you choose the springs, if you're just taking parts from a bunch of different locks, you want to make sure they're all the same tension, same length, same design. Like these here are copper medium tension springs. They're all the same length. Drop them in. So like this here. Ooh, there's a bad one. What the hell? Oh no, that didn't matter. That one's okay. You want to make sure you carefully pick your springs. Okay. Now once you got those in there, you're going to take your top plate here. Set it on the top. Just kind of hit it down in there. Oh shit, I went in the wrong side. Because I chipped off the, it all depends on what side you chip off the little retaining divots, pins on there. You just tap it in there good. We're going to go over this is a lot easier to do in the vise, and obviously I'm using like something like this, the hammer to tap it down, but I'm trying to do it in camera. Okay, there. Once you got it in there so it's decently firm, it's still kind of canted at an angle, but we're going to fix that in the vise here. I'm not going to keep sitting in and doing it the improper way, pounding on it with a screwdriver. That's just a joke. So what we're going to do is, there we go, we got a good view of the vise with the Snapple bottle here. Oh, Snapple bottle, don't want to... Shit, that Snapple bottle. Put it on the Xbox controller. Oh, that's too low too. Fuck. we'll live with the Snapple bottle. Okay, now what you're going to want to do is put this in the vise. Just like this here. My vices are all, I got wood clamps in it. So don't damage my gun parts, because I do a lot of gunsmithing, as you'll see from my other videos. I can use aluminum, but I like wood. You know, wood isn't optimal strength for like heavy duty pounding, but you know, it doesn't damage parts for light jobs. So you got that pinned over here. Take your hammer and just tap down on the sides. Just kind of tap it down, and then the sides where the pins right here were not taken out. Like as you can see in the side here, there's these little pins here. You can kind of see. But right with these screwdrivers, these are ones I knocked out. They were holding it down. What you're gonna want to do is take your screwdriver and just pound up here on the other side that weren't pined over. You know, to just kind of re-peen them in there, you know, so that the plate don't just come off. Just like that. Just something to push it over a little bit. Do it on the other side. 2 is generally good enough. You can put 3 or 4, it doesn't really matter. As long as you do it good enough, 2 will be more than sufficient to hold your hold it in place without it coming out. Oh.